I always want to make sure you know that. So, just in case. So, again, thank you so much for coming. And as in all things, believe it or not, I get a little anxious for these. Once I get started, I do okay. I'm probably talking too fast. That's my normal piece. But take a breath, realizing God is with us as always and will guide us. So, let's take a moment in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I'm actually going to pull up. I have a new favorite saying that I have to share with you all. I did put it on the school Facebook because this is can be anxious times for all of us. Um, but the new president Biden went to mass yesterday at St. Matthew's Cathedral in Washington D.C. And the homily, a piece of it that I did share out on Facebook and in the newsletter today, resonates with me. So just as well, the Reverend Kevin O'Brien said, "As you live out this mission as servant leaders, I also remind you of the Lord's promise. The Lord is near. Have no anxiety at all, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. Then the God of peace will be with you." So I wish peace with all of you as we continue to navigate these uncertain times, though I continue to hope that we are sort of rounding that bend or the light at the end of the tunnel as we continue to hopefully get more information, greater understanding, and hopefully healing and kind of a handle on this pandemic. You know me, I've got a captured audience, so a few just gentle reminders. Um, Enrollment is open at this point. If you will be requesting tuition assistance, please remember that the deadline is February 1st. That's a deadline set by the Archdiocese. And if you need any help in completing that application, don't hesitate to reach out to me and I can connect you with a parent who's been a great helper or with Deb Volker. Hopefully you want to be returning. To secure your child's placement is the following week, February 8th. Just, fortunately, Lee Littles and some others have been working hard on marketing the school. So I am starting to get more inquiries and I will look to those on February 9th. Any questions about enrollment, please don't hesitate in letting me know. Parent teacher conferences are next week. Remember, these are kind of the more specific ones where the teachers are requesting conferences. Hopefully, if teachers requested a conference, just welcome it as an opportunity to partner with your child's teacher. And if you did not receive a request, but you would like to meet with your child's teacher, reach out to them by email. There's only so many spots available, but again, it's all about partnership. So again, if you received an email, please make sure you sign up for that conference. And if you have not received one, hopefully you're in good communication, or if you would like to schedule a conference, reach out to your child's teacher. I'm excited. February 3rd is a parents' night called Discussing Screens, Stress, and Mental Health While in a Pandemic. Still couldn't be more relevant. This is going to be geared more for the higher grades, like fourth grade and up, but all families are welcome. I'm going to be sharing a survey tomorrow. This has been held at a couple other Catholic schools that have found it to be just great information. The survey, the two therapists that are holding it just want information from you about how you would like them to guide this hour. So watch for that survey tomorrow. And sorry, I know your time is valuable, but a couple other surveys coming your this way. I'm still in the process of constructing a survey about the reopening, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And also, we are in our accreditation self-study, and the Archdiocese and this whole protocol requires us to survey all of our families. Please, 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 it's invaluable, very valuable that we get your input. So please, when you see those surveys, take a moment, 5 minutes, to complete the survey to give us input. All right. Reminders are done, so thank you for those. Reopening of Holy Cross, lots of information. As always, I try to be as transparent and direct with you as possible. And as you probably are aware, things are shifting daily. So a couple things is one, I'm regularly meeting with Father Mark to keep him apprised of where we are going. We have a reopening team of different staff members. We've already met. We're going to be meeting, we've met several times, but we're going to be meeting again tomorrow. Again, after this meeting, and we will be meeting weekly now. I've met with the Department of Catholic Schools, have another meeting tomorrow, Oregon Health Authority, the Multnomah County Health Authority, as well as the Oregon Department of Education. So I'm doing my best to be apprised of what the current status is about how and when it's best to reopen the school. Want to make things pretty clear for all of you. With father support, we will be following the science. As much as we want to open our doors and welcome everyone back in, it's going to be a transition. You may see other schools doing different things, and I'm not going to fault those decisions, or I'm not part of those teams, but we will follow the science. And we're also following really kind of always the health and safety of not only the students, but families and staff in making these decisions. The Oregon Department of Education has sort of emphasized 2 points when schools are looking at to reopening, even under this new matrix, not new matrix, there is a new matrix, but under the new Ready School Safe, what is it called again? RSSL. Mr. T, do you remember Ready School Safe Learners? Apologize, that's a document from Oregon Department of Ed. They came up with an updated version on Tuesday. 2 things they encourage all schools to look at: public, private, charter, it doesn't matter. What is the case counting case numbers in your county? Fortunately for Multnomah County, the numbers are slowly decreasing. The trajectory is going down, but we still are higher than many other counties. But again, we're hopefully headed in the right direction. So when looking at reopening a school, look to those numbers. And the second thing is the school's ability to follow the health and safety protocols. Face masks, ventilation, social distancing, defined cohorts, contact tracing, and then increased emphasis on hand washing. To be honest, I think we've got that nailed. Since September, with our on-site students, we've been having lots of opportunities to practice that and fine-tuning it to make sure that we are following the health and safety protocols. So again, health, we're following science, we're putting the needs of all of our shareholders, and then we're following those as guidelines. I've been meeting with teachers to find out their comfort level about returning, concerns, questions they've had, and those have gone well. A big question is vaccinations. Teresa Nath, as well as other parents that are in the health field, have been keeping me up to date as well. If you're not aware, the governor has prioritized teachers as 1B. We are going to be allowed to get the vaccination as early as January 25th. But the question is, and there's still a lot of unknowns about how. So we can, doesn't mean we are able to. So again, there's still some questions about that. When I hear information from you, the school is still interested in moving forward with a phased reopening, even while we wait for the vaccinations to, one, be able to be administered, and two, if you may or may not know, there's a series of 2 vaccinations several weeks apart before full immunity is actually, I think it's about a 5 to 6 week period. Is that right, Teresa? I'm looking to you for a head nod, or 4 to 6 weeks, somewhere around that. So it's still a period of time before the teachers can have it. I've drafted letters for each teacher to have, every staff member, so they can use that to, verify that they work at a school. Again, I referenced the ODE had this Ready School Safe Learner document that was updated, and I've already reviewed this 90-page document again. To reference it, they've indicated that one of Oregon's highest priorities, hand in hand, is to reopen schools, but hand in hand with supporting the health and safety of students and families and staff. That there is a real importance about the social emotional growth and support for students. And again, as I referenced, they really emphasize those 2 other points, case numbers, as well as fidelity to protocols and being able to reopen. One thing you may not be aware of, but the matrix did change again. Before, I believe it was about 200 cases per 100,000 in a county. To be able to be in the red zone, which is don't open, is now been moved to 350 cases. So Multnomah County is now in orange, which is transition. Mr. T, I think might be helpful, do you think, if I share what the matrix looks like? What are your thoughts? I didn't ask you ahead of time.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, let me pull it up, just because sometimes my words are just too much. Let's see, share screen. And I've shared this with you parents before. Hopefully you have a chance to see it. These are the new matrix identified by the Oregon Department of Ed. If you're kind of curious, why did they change the matrix? In the document, they reference that these new matrix, which is now at 350 per 100,000, they based it on the Harvard Global Health Institute recommendations. So just kind of give you an idea. As I said, you can see that the case count is slowly going down, which is great. as well as the test positivity. And Multnomah County, excuse me, is in orange, which means we are in transition phase for primary students. Again, as you can see, that elementary and hybrid transition. So that's what we're looking to as we develop our plans to hopefully reopen. Let's see, what else I wanted to do. The purpose of changing the metrics, again, aligned with the Harvard Global Health Institute, was allow for a return to in-person instruction for elementary students. And again, Multnomah County is now in the orange category, which allows for elementary students to be on site. Before I start taking questions, what are the next steps for Holy Cross? The reopening team is meeting again tomorrow. What we would like to do is create a survey to send out to families to find out, where they feel about sending their child in a phased reopening back to Holy Cross. Please remember, as we said before, this isn't necessarily a vote, but we definitely need your input to help guide us in understanding how we can best support your needs under what our capabilities are. Again, when we do look at reopening, you'll hear this a lot, and we've been successful with our on-site students. It will be critical for families that have students returning to on-site to follow all of those health and safety protocols. If you plan on traveling for spring break, you might want to either one, consider not traveling, or your child may have to move into remote learning. It's really important to get all those health and safety protocols. I know we're tired of this. It's been over a year, but you have to keep your bubble small. You have to continue all of those protocols so we can get our children back into school and get a handle on this better. And what I thought is by our next meeting, which is going to be sometime the week of February 8th, between now and that next meeting, after we get input from all of you, we will have a defined plan as what does transition look like. To be honest, it will look like at first primary grades, possibly grades 1, 2, and 3. We're looking at smaller cohorts, which is supported by all the health and the science information that I've read. So that's as kind of specific as I can get at this point. We will sort of monitor. Remember, at this point, since September, Holy Cross has had probably 70 students on site, and we've been successful. And I think we've been successful because, one, we've been communicative, we've followed all the protocols, and we've done it in a careful, intentional manner. I just can't open my doors and welcome everybody back as much as I would desperately like to. We need to do it that's going to be the best for our community. Mr. T or Miss Debbie, is there anything in our conversations that you think I might have missed, or just open it for questions or comments, complaints, concerns? So just know you're going to be getting a survey, and the next meeting will be the week of February 8th when we'll have a more defined plan. All right.
Nice.
Anybody want to put questions either in the chat, or you are welcome to unmute yourself, and Mr. T can help me monitor that. It's tough to look at all of these faces and try to figure out who's talking. Teresa, can I pick on you? You've always been so helpful. Anything I've missed, Teresa, in our own discussions? I appreciate it. In case you didn't know, Teresa Nath works in the health industry and has been a great support, and sometimes I'll just ask her random questions. Do I have everything, Teresa?
I think so. I do agree with you that it has been frustrating for people who are eligible to get the vaccine now to find out where to get it. I'm hoping the OHSU, and even Melissa could probably talk about that, but OHSU, Legacy, Kaiser, Providence, they're all banding together to create kind of big, at the convention center, kind of huge vaccine drive thing going through. So I'm hopeful that in the next couple of weeks, it's going to be a lot easier for people to quickly get their vaccine.
I did reach out to Melissa, and she kind of said the same thing. And I just was at an hour meeting yesterday with the Multnomah County Health Authority, and they were great, but they really didn't have the details yet. I think those details are literally being made right now, the specifics regarding it.
And Julie, another thing you might be able to do is, with Large, we have adult foster care homes. We've been trying to not just get our caregivers vaccinated, but trying to inform families of the opportunities. And so as thinking of the multi-generational families at the school, as you have information, you might be able to benefit those families by sending emails out, sharing where vaccinations are available and how to sign up.
Okay.
I know not everyone is looking at it as closely as you are. So I
Mhm.
would say like spam us with information on where people might sign up to get vaccinated.
Okay.
That could really benefit, especially the multi-generational families in the school. So
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll keep that in mind for sure. And I
Julie,
appreciate it for whoever works in the health industry. If you happen to have any inside knowledge, please don't hesitate. Shoot me an email. Hey, I'm hearing this. It's a rumor, but I think the more, because I think there is a lot of unknown. And I'm in regular communication with the diocese as well as my regional principals, who have been a great resource. But I think the more we can keep each other up to date, it's appreciated. So thank you.
Julie,
Yes,
um,
Danielle.
I know that OHSU, in addition to the convention center immunization site, will also be starting one out at the airport as well.
I heard about that as well. I heard the airport one was going to be a drive-through,
Yes.
and the one at the convention center is not a drive-through, or I'm not sure exactly, but I'd heard rumors of that too, Danielle.
Yes, that one, actually, I think it may have started today, but
Oh,
it's like
wow.
a soft open, and then it'll open up. They'll make it a little more public. So
Thank you. I
there are
appreciate
more
that.
coming.
Perfect.
Julie, the OHSU one, it is a drive-through and a walk-up. At least that's how they had it a couple weeks ago.
Thanks, Brittany. Appreciate the information. Ultimately, vaccinations are going to be important, especially as we move along to, I don't know if we're ever going to get to that herd immunity, but the more we can protect in our community. But know that I think as we move to this transition, we've operated again for, what is it, 6 months now without vaccinations, but because of really careful grouping of students and limited amount of students and all those other health and safety protocols. And again, having conversations, clearly I don't want to put Miss Martin or Miss D, in harm's way, but I think if we do it in a careful way, and they're both for sure absolutely open and want to support their students in more in-person instruction when it's safe and we're able to do so. Hi, Jacob. I see you. Mr. T, are there any, go ahead.
Yes. Carolyn?
Hi. When we were looking at the new guidelines on Tuesday, I think one of the things they mentioned was on-site testing for when people have the symptoms and so forth. Is that something that Holy Cross can do now? Do we have, can they do that? I mean, prepare for that? Or that's not a question I'm trying to ask.
So there is a requirement, Carolyn, one about if a school is operating outside of the matrix. So for example, if Holy Cross was in red, but we still chose to open up, it would be required as of March 1st to do on-site testing. If a student happens to come on site and then after being on site or a staff member develops symptoms that could be common COVID symptoms, then it would be required to have that student. It has to be self-administered. We have to have a trained person to support that student because we still have to be 6 feet away. So either Miss Debbie or myself will be a COVID trained administrator. But for example, for our 4-year-olds, I don't think we would have them self-administer, or even our kindergarten students, though I understand kindergartners can do it. That makes me a little hesitant. Couple things, Carolyn. One is we're still getting lots of information about the testing on site. 2 is if we are within the matrix, whether or not that's still a requirement. To be honest, I would prefer not to have to test on site. 1, we ask every student that comes, this is where partnership with families is key, such as, sometimes historically there might be a cough or a sniffle and parents, because of busy lives, send their kids to school. We can't have that for sure this year. But we ask these questions every day. Any exposure to COVID, cough, fever, flu-like symptoms, nausea, diarrhea, shortness of breath, and parents have been hopefully so far answering honestly with us and keeping their children home. My hope would be to stop it before they get into the building. If a child gets sick while at the building, we have the staff room. If you've not been there, has been turned into a sick room. We have to have a designated COVID room. Our goal would be to isolate the student, call the parents, have them pick it up, and have you take care of that with your practitioner. I'm getting lots more information about when and how we would have to do COVID testing. It makes me a little nervous for our youngest learners. I don't know how helpful that will be, but we will follow whatever the requirements are of the ODE. I don't know if that answered all your questions, Carolyn. Still a lot of information. My understanding it's not a requirement until March 1st, and my understanding it's only a requirement if you're operating outside the matrix.
Julie, pardon my ignorance, you may have already said this, but we're essentially following the same structure of our building that we had prepared for over the summer, right?
Yes, yes.
Nice. Okay, yeah. So we were ready for it regardless, whatever the number.
Right, we have been physically ready. One is, one, I want to be transparent. I want to communicate with you because you probably have lots of questions and how are we doing it? And it seems like August is so long ago now. So one is just about keeping that communication open, making and reassuring you that your child's health and safety, your family's health and safety, and my staff members' health and safety is paramount to us. That's why we're going to be dictated by the science and those other key factors that I've told you about. But that doesn't mean we can't still reopen, even with the numbers as I wish they were lower, but I think if we do it in a careful way, we're able to do it. Like I said, since September, we've been successful. You may or may not know this. We have about 10 students coming on site. Hi there. Off and on for title support. And so we've been having students come off and on. And then in addition, we've had our pre-K, kindergarten, and daycare students on site since September. And we've been successful. I don't want to, knock on wood, but again, we want to continue to follow all those protocols. Any other questions?
Hi, Julie, I have a question.
Yes.
Is there sort of a cutoff date at which point we would say, or you would say, not opening for the year, it's just not worth making this pivot again for teachers and for students? Do we get to a certain point where it's just not worth it?
That's such a great question, Heather. And such a tough question to answer. I know, I wish I had an answer. Even on a limited basis, I think we're looking at not only just obviously the academic support that I think would even be more effective in person with a teacher on site, but also the social emotional needs. I would, I don't want to give any dates out to anybody necessarily, but I'm hoping by mid to late February, we would be looking at transitioning some groups on site. I think there was a question about whether or not we'd look at whole groups eventually. April, I think we want to first bring in some small groups. How is that working? How is the transition going? How are the COVID numbers? Are we having, outbreaks of COVID in classrooms? And then as we do that, then we would expand. So for example, please don't hold me to this, but one option we're looking at is possibly, bringing first, second, and third grade on and 2 cohorts, A and B, and they're each here 2 days a week. While they're not here, they're doing, applied learning, or there might be some level of zooming in, again, academics will continue. If we're successful with that, do we move them to full classrooms every day, or do we look at introducing 4th and 5th grade? Those are things that, one, we want information from you all. I want to hear from the teachers as to their comfort levels, things like that. I don't have an answer. I wish I did. I would say if we haven't brought anybody on by April, we're probably not going to. I think it's definitely going to be a phased approach. To be honest, it's still, thank you. I've not received pressure from my parents. I've only received really lots of support. That doesn't mean you don't have pressures. Doesn't mean you may not have complaints with how we're operating things. But I do know some schools have been under a tremendous amount of pressure. And that can get really difficult. I think we've definitely been in community through these trying times. And I will say the Archdiocese has made it clear that they want schools to reopen. Some West Side schools seem to be doing it at a quicker pace. My regional principals in, the northeast areas, we all seem to be similar outlook, and we want to support each other and not sort of undermine each other. Like, why is Holy Redeemer doing this and you're not? We want to support each other. Not that their decision could be my decision or vice versa, but we also want to be sort of on similar paths, shall we say. So that's been helpful as well.
Julie, there's a question in the chat. At this point, are you thinking full school for everyone all the time or a hybrid model?
Again, that was a great question. I'm leaning a lot towards what your input is as parents, to help what can we do, as well as what the teachers think they can do. I think initially we're really looking at a hybrid model. ultimately, we do know that there are some students that aren't able to return because of health issues. Please know that I don't want you to not have your child return out of an abundance of, I don't want to say fear, because sometimes it's about being cautious. Ultimately, please know that I'm weighing that heavily. But we also know that there's some families where the child has some health issues that they are at a greater exposure. And we are doing what we can to continue to support them, and will support them in distance learning. But I think when we believe that we're ready to open, you and I, if you're one of those families, and I know a couple of you, we've had some conversations, we just need to have that conversation again. I don't want to say you can just choose to stay home. I want to just have that conversation with you, because ultimately, when we feel that it's best to reopen, we really think that we're capable of doing the best we can to protect everybody involved. I hope that makes sense. But then we would have those conversations, and there's a few of you that are here that I know that for health reasons, either that there's somebody in your home, or your child themselves have some particular health risks that make it greater for them to return. We want to support those students, and we're looking about how we can do a more, may not be at the same level of distance learning. It's pretty robust, I think, what my teachers have created. I'm super proud of their efforts, but we don't want to shirk our responsibility of supporting all of our families.
Anyone else? Feel free to send me, a message in the chat. I won't have necessarily read your names in case you're want to stay anonymous. All right. Yeah, we
Are we
usually
good?
call this wait time as teachers, so that way we can all process our thoughts and our feelings. But
Again, if you haven't met, Senator Bernie Sanders visited the playground today, so make sure you get a chance to see that Facebook picture. As you can tell, I'm pretty excited about it. I'm so predictable. Well, one, maybe you don't have questions. Again, I'm hoping to be as communicative and transparent as possible. Couple things. Next thing to look at, it may not come out tomorrow. That February 3rd parent night survey will hopefully go out tomorrow, but really I need to make sure you have an opportunity to provide input as to what your family's needs are or guidance, but leaning towards a hybrid model. And then we see how the numbers go and how successful we are with that before we expand further, if that makes sense. Hi, Emily.
I know it's MM. All right.
It's so fun to see the kids.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, that's why yeah, of course we're gonna focus on safety, but man, I cannot wait to see the kids. It's killing me, slowly killing me.
All right.
All right. Well, you knocked it out of the
Thank you,
park.
everybody. Have a great night. Please don't hesitate. Get your enrollment in, please, or let me know. If you have any questions, please, please, please. Oh, there's the whole Cools family. Say hello to everybody. I forget, Anna, are you in Michigan or Wisconsin? I can't remember which.
We're in Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah,
Well,
right outside of Ann Arbor.
Yeah. Anyway, it's so great to see you all. Mr. T, if you wouldn't mind stopping the recording then, and goodbye, families. Staff members, please stay on board. Take care.